Hello, and welcome to Holistic Harmony. I'm an average mom reclaiming my power to live a meaningful and abundant life through health, spirituality, and connection. I break down complex emotional and physical health topics into simple, easy to understand information and give you practical tips to integrate this knowledge into your daily life. So please join me and invest some time into cultivating the very best version of yourself. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm so happy that you joined me again this week, or for the first time, if this is your first time. I am just really sharing what is going on in my life right now, some of the things that I'm working through by doing inner work, and if you want to call it shadow work or anything like that, inner child work. That's kind of the stuff that's really calling to me right now. It's really speaking to me because I'm just on this mission to live the healthiest and happiest life that I can for myself, and then also to be able to give that as a legacy to my children and to my husband as well. And so I'm just trying to uncover the things that I know hold me back. So I knew at the beginning of my journey, it probably started in 2019-ish, maybe 2018, when I was trying to get pregnant and I couldn't get pregnant. And I was like, what is wrong? And then a friend of mine clued me into the foods that we eat and the cleaners that we use and the healthcare products like soaps and things like that we use on our bodies and how those things can impact our health. And that was like the first part of this whole experience. I mean, I've always been really good at kind of understanding when I did something wrong and like ratting myself out. Like if I do something bad, I'm the first person that's going to tell you exactly what I did, because I just like don't want to hold on to that stuff. And I just want to, I'd rather just, I'd rather beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. That's like the corporate lingo for my personality. And so I've always been like that, but it kind of took it to a different level with health and things like that. So yeah, I did that for a while and really honed in on my diet. And over the years have learned about different things that are no-go for me, like traditional wheat products because of the Roundup in them, and also any dried products like beans, wheat, anything that was dried corn, things like that are going to be really heavily contaminated with Roundup. Which is very bad for our bodies, bad for our guts and our brains and all this stuff. And then lotions, I use the smells like Bath and Body Works, fragrance again things. I used to be obsessed with those things, and candles and all stuff. And all that stuff is hormone disrupting chemicals, is not good for us to breathe that in. It's basically just pollutants. Like, hey, let me pollute our indoor air quality. So you kind of going through that. But then it's like everything changes when you have kids, right? You're like, oh my God, my parenting, things are happening. They're throwing tantrums. And when you flip out and you yell at them and you slam doors like a child, at least that's what I do when I get mad, and I'm like, that's not cool, man. I'm teaching them the behavior that I don't want to see in them. And so being self-reflective and trying to make changes and that stuff. So all this stuff like has been gaining momentum. And if you watch the last couple episodes, you know that Rachel and I, we had this podcast together, and then we kind of went separate ways in our creative vision for things and how we work. And that's been a really big learning struggle for me to figure out, like, what are the ways that I impacted that dissolution of this relationship? Although I will say that we made up yesterday and we finally were vulnerable with each other about some of the things that were holding us back. And that was amazing. So yesterday I kind of had a little bit of a breakthrough. All this weekend, I was very in my feelings, man. I was like, let's have some big talks. And I was also setting boundaries lately that I usually don't do. But whenever people did stuff that rubs me the wrong way, I mean, I don't want to say rub me the wrong way, but hurt my feelings, ways that I felt like it was an unjust thing that someone did to me, or if someone brings in some negative energy to me, kind of would say like, hey man, you kind of killed my vibe or whatever, hurt my feelings. And maybe in the future, I guess you got to be like, oh, well, that doesn't bother me anymore. I don't care what anybody thinks or does or whatever. And I'm working on it. But for right now, that's not always the case. And so I want to talk to you guys about kind of what I learned about setting boundaries. And really, I'm a very empathetic person. I feel other people's energy and emotions, and I want to help them solve their problems. And I want to just solve all the world problems here. And that's my personality. I would say flaw, but I think that's also my big personality trait that makes me special and unique as well. But with that kind of empathetic attitude and feeling towards people, we can really get ourselves in trouble. And so that's kind of what I'm going to talk about, how to kind of work through some of those situations of big feelings that you might have, and something to really reflect on, which is inner child work. And I'm going to talk to you about how I came to that and what I'm doing to try to work through inner child issues, which is the foundation of all of my control and trust issues that I have to this day, which gets in the way of me having really fulfilling relationships. So I'll talk about that stuff one by one and kind of pick apart where I like how I came to this and what I'm doing to solve this issue of pushing people away by my controlling issues and my trust issues, and how I am taking the power back into my own hands instead of sending so much energy outside of myself where it just does not need to be. So if that kind of feels like your vibe, then tune in. If that's really not what you're looking for, you can tune out. I have a lot of other podcast topics about gardening and food and dishware and like all sorts of stuff. So just go check out some of my later episodes with Rachel, and that's fine. All right, so I really struggled with trying to connect with people in a way that really feels fulfilling to me. So I am not like a let's casually chat by the mailbox person. I am a very intuitive person, and I want to know more about you. I want to know what makes you tick, and I want to know like the funny stories from childhood, and I just like want to have a strong connection with people, and I want to feel bonded, and I want to feel this loving exchange of energy together. And not everybody's into that. Not everybody's into that. But so I will always be putting myself out there, meeting new people, and hoping that I get the spark with people, because I just crave the spark. I crave just being able to sit down and talk for hours about whatever just comes up and learning stuff, and also getting knowledge from other people and alternate ways of doing things and their best practices, I kind of like to call them, just tricks of the trade that people learn over the years. I just turned 40 this year, well, last year. And it's like we have all this knowledge in our age group now. We're not just like the young kiddos in their 20s that really don't know anything yet about ourselves. We actually have a lot of knowledge that we've been building up. And also, our generation, I think, is more inclined to question principles that were just kind of handed down to us, and ask ourselves, well, why do I do this a certain way? Is it because it's the way, or is it just because that's what I've been conditioned to do? And so I love those people that are out there that love to question everything. Question it all. I'm like, today I had a conversation with a lady at my girls' gymnastics class, and so I'm talking about my Earth Mother stuff and how I'm grounding outside and all this stuff. And then I start talking about trees and plants and things like that, and how I really believe that we are connected to them, and that we almost have some sort of communication with them, and energy transfer or something besides just like them. Okay, yeah, they convert our carbon dioxide into oxygen. That's wonderful. And that's, perfect and everything. But I think there's something more there. I think that there's some energy that we have, and we just can't understand how to communicate with them. But I think that it's still there, just because we can't perceive it in our 3D kind of material based life that we live in. It's hard to imagine how that could be possible. But I'm going to tell you, our technology is advancing so rapidly, and computer systems and things are getting so much smarter than what they ever were before. And we're going to start to have things come through, especially in the realm of frequency and vibration, that are just going to like blow our minds, and we're going to question everything. So anyway, I was talking about the trees and stuff, and then I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get all philosophical on you, because that's just always in that kind of la la land, I guess. But I think it's cool. It's creative. It's a different way of thinking, man. You don't have to just think all the time about your career and the struggles of life and health problems and negativity and, stuff on TV and all that stuff. There's a lot of really cool stuff out there to get into. I'm really into bushcrafting right now, and birding, and gardening, and growing herbs and making medicine and all this cool stuff that I just want to share with people and find my tribe that is into that too. So anyway, that was a little tangent. But sometimes in our relationships, I know at least I find that I feel like I'm not connecting like I want to, especially with people really, really close to me. It's just not quite what I want out of that relationship. And all my life, I have convinced myself that it's them and not me. I'm doing my best. I care about them. I love them so much. I feel feelings, and I feel their injustices and all that stuff. But for some reason, it's just not the same. I feel like I'm giving more than I'm getting back, and all these expectations and things like that. And finally, I just had this breakthrough where I kind of realized that I had to accept a lot of responsibility for the interactions that I'm getting, because what we put out and what we get is a mirror. So whenever I put out this energy, I'm getting a mirror of that image, that I'm getting a right back at me. And so you have to be aware of what you're putting out is what you're getting. Sometimes it's easier in life to just feel like it's the blame of everyone else and to not actually own up to your responsibility in the situation. But this is not the podcast for that. This is not the YouTube channel for that. This is the YouTube channel to get better internally and have better relationships that are exactly what you want out of life. So I'm just really in the mindset of, let me figure out what it is, let me do the work on it, and let me rise to my highest and best meaning in life, the best mom, the best wife, the best just me that I can be. So part of accepting of, at least what's going on with me, because this again is what I'm dealing with this week, is that I noticed that I am trying to control everything. And I started, really what helped me is I had this random YouTube suggestion to listen to a video, and it was about, do you control things and have issues with connections? And I was like, oh my God, that's totally me. So I listened to it. And it's this guy called Aaron Doty, and I'll link one of his ones that I found really useful. And he just really broke it down for me in a way that I really understood it. And it was like a light bulb went off. So basically what he said, and what I'll kind of summarize and what I learned off of this, is that in childhood, I had to control things to feel safe. And it was very obvious at a young age that I needed to step in where my parents were unable to fulfill my needs of being protected and of feeling the need to be nurtured and all those things. I kind of stepped into that role, and then I mirrored it for everybody else, except for the mirror just never really seemed to hit me back the way that I wish it would have, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I can't exactly remember all of my childhood. I think a lot of my memories are just like wiped for some reason, and I'm kind of trying to work on that. But so I started controlling things to feel safe in my environment in order to keep the peace of my household or whatever. I mean, I didn't have a fighting household or anything like that, but I think that I put myself out there to try to nurture my parents so that they could give me their best and make sure that my needs were met. So I ended up controlling situations because I did not trust the people around me to make decisions that were in my best nurtured interest, I guess, and my best protective interest. And so I thought back of what kind of things did I control back then in order for me to feel safe. So that was good to kind of think about that. What things felt out of control in my childhood that caused me to feel like I needed to step in where really maybe wasn't my place to do that. But then understanding that just because we needed to have such tight control over things back then, or at least a perceived need to do that, over time in our adult life, at least in mine, where things are stable and steady and I don't have all these stressors on me anymore, is I don't need to control things anymore. I mean, not that I ever maybe did need to do it before. I mean, I guess I did need to do it before when I was a kid, but now I don't need to do that anymore. I don't need to be in control of everything all the time. And I need to be able to trust the people in my life around me that haven't given me any reason to not trust them, that they won't do the right thing, or that, I need to trust them to do what is in their best interest, do their thing, and understand that their actions don't always have to affect me. And I don't have to absorb the negative energy and the negative things about it, that I'm able to separate myself and be like, well, that is their journey and this is my journey. And I don't have to feel personally responsible for your journey and your feelings all the time or ever, I guess, but that I'm in control of my emotions and my reactions, and yours are yours to bear. They're not mine to bear. And it's really hard to let go of that. I feel like I'm still very much like in control of a lot of things, and I really don't want to be in control of that stuff. But I feel like if I don't control it, then negative consequences will happen. And so it's kind of like a learning curve of how to figure out what things you kind of do need to keep your hand in the pot and what things you can let go of. And another part of that is to be able to set healthy boundaries with people, healthy, loving boundaries with people that come from a place of vulnerability. So one of the things that I talked about with my mom was her negative energy in my life. Sometimes she would just be in a bad mood or whatever. And, she wants to come and like catastrophize and like, and kind of be a hypochondriac about things, especially like medical things. And I just find it so frustrating because that was kind of one of the things growing up, is that she really didn't shield me from too much knowledge. She was very open and honest, to the point of being too open and honest with a child. If I'd ask a question, she would just like go right into it. I don't perceive that she really cared about how that would really impact me to know that, right? She would just be like, oh, sex, let me just get right to it and explain exactly how it works, as like a 6-year old. And a 6-year old doesn't need to know exactly how sex works, and things like that. And so it was stuff like that. And then also just like medical stuff that was too much information, or watching medical programs in front of me. I will never forget the show 2020, and they would have special things about horrible flesh eating, necrotizing fasciitis stuff. And they would watch it. And then I would just be shaking in my boots about it and terrified. And for probably 2 years after watching that, if not longer, honestly, it was probably like 10 years, to be honest, I would flip out anytime I got a tiny little paper cut. I would be like watching it and like, oh my God, is it red? Is it turning red? Is there a line that's going to spread down? It was just constant. So I can't go to that hypochondriac state of mind. I'm trying to get myself out of that state of mind and not worry so much about things that could happen, because there's no sense in worrying about something if it didn't even happen, and stressing your body out about these perceived things that could happen. So when she comes to me with that energy, I just can't handle it. So that's one thing. I set a boundary. I cannot handle whenever you get like that. I just can't. And so if it's going to be like that, I'm going to just let you know, hey, this conversation is going into territory that I don't want to get into, and be able to just move on. And if she doesn't like that, I said that and said, hey, we're not going to talk about that right now. I don't like it. Then that's her tension, right? Because I am protecting my energy, and I have to be responsible for myself and how I am perceived, or not perceived, but how I present myself to my kids and to my husband, and how I go to bed at night and how I free my mind. And so I can't be concerned about her reaction to that, as long as I am coming from a place of love and vulnerability. Hey, this makes me feel like I'm out of control, child, whenever you start doing this again, or this upsets me and makes me start to worry because I'm still trying to get over that stuff. And so coming from a place of, this is why, and can we please just not do that anymore? But enforcing healthy boundaries with people and enforcing negative behaviors. Um, like when I constantly feel a push from certain people in my life about the things that I'm into right now, this woo woo stuff, like the tree and nature, and feeling the power of nature and the magic of nature, and herbal medicine, and feeling like that. And those are my choices. And I've never felt better in my life since I've felt like this about nature and about herbal medicine and all the things that I'm into right now. I'm not even going to get into, but even the tarot card stuff and all of these different things that I really am into lately that make me feel good and that open my mind up to be able to do the work on myself and to even try to be a better person. And that stuff is giving me power. And I'm not going to let someone's negativity, or sometimes it comes in the form of fact checking, like someone that consistently is just trying to fact check everything you say. And it's like, dude, I'm not trying to get in this big debate about it. I understand that not everybody agrees on stuff, and that's totally fine. But you also don't need to try to constantly go against everything I'm saying all the time. It's just very combative, and it's just bringing me down. If you don't want to do it, or you don't want to talk about it, then you set up your boundary and say, hey, that's not really something I want to talk about, and we'll move on with that. But the judgment or perceived judgment that I feel and all that stuff, and the negativity and all that picking apart my ideas, I'm just not going to stand for it anymore. I'm just not. So, and that's my power to do that. So I'm just going to get into the place where when people say things like that to me that hurt my feelings and I feel like it was unjust, I used to just shut up and take it, because I just wanted to have a good relationship with people. And I just wanted them to meet these needs that I felt I had. I just wanted them to love me, and I wanted us to connect. And so I would just shut up, but it was always brewing inside of me. Like I was never going to forget the things that they said or the way it made me feel. And so I think this is just a better policy of, when it happens, you just realize you have the feelings, try to work through, why was I triggered by that, and do that work too to find out how you can overcome those triggers of things that hurt your feelings. Or if things really were just unjust and you can't stand for it, then you have to be able to just say it in a very nice, loving, vulnerable way. But you have to just say it. Otherwise, you just build resentments that never quite go away. They only increase over time, until you have like a big falling out with someone. And also, I listened to a tarot reading by My Soul, and he said something really crazy. Is he was saying, in letting things go and holding things in at the sake of getting this connection that I really wanted, it was only sacrificing my true needs, because I never quite got the connection that I wanted because of letting those things go and not setting boundaries and then having expectations that weren't met, because the whole process was just kind of icky. And it was never going to be this good, loving energy that I want, because it didn't start out that way from the get go, you know? You have to stand up for what you believe in, and you have to set your boundaries. And then you also have to let go of needing a response from someone and letting go of the expectation of what you want from them. Just let them be them in their own power. And you can hope the best for people, but you can't expect them to do something a certain way. And that's what I'm working on. And if they get upset by your boundary, then like I said, that's their tension to work through. It's not something I have to work through. As long as you come from that loving place, then that's on them to work through it. And then you can go back and work on your trigger and why that triggered you so bad. And is there something in childhood or in the past that has made you feel triggered by that? Is there some other work that you need to do to try to work through why that upset you so bad? Why does it upset me when I feel like people are judging me hardcore or whatever? Maybe I should just be like, I don't give a damn what people think of me, you know? But I don't know. It's like not that easy to not care about what people think of you. And don't absorb their negative energy. You don't have to absorb it. If they have the tension and they have a negative reaction to it, you don't have to absorb that into yourself. You can just let them go and keep their energy to themselves. And you go and work on keeping your energy back into yourself. Suck your energy back in. I feel like during the day, I send out so much energy because I get upset by things or like the news, or not necessarily upset like someone did something wrong to me, but upset for the injustice of it, the injustice of certain people getting bombed, or just bad news, or someone's, child got sick or hurt or died, or, all this stuff. It's like, oh my God, I feel so bad. And then also like sending out energy, oh, that conversation didn't go the way I wanted it to, and my feelings got hurt, and all these things. It's like sending little pieces of your energy out into the universe. And what I've been doing lately is going out in the sun and closing my eyes and just letting it shine on my face, and just feeling like I'm pulling all of my energy back into myself where it belongs. I'm pulling all of those little bits that I scattered out, and I'm just coming back into myself. I'm clearing my mind of thoughts and just bringing all of my energy into myself. And the sun is a very powerful tool to use in that kind of activity, because you can feel it. You can see through your eyes the color changing of like the saturation of the sun behind the clouds. And you can really play with that sensation of the heat on your face and things to really just kind of feel that energy coming into you. And I notice when I do that, my hands will tingle, my feet will tingle. It like really, really does feel like my energy is coming back, because I believe that it really is. It's so crazy. I'm telling you, the stuff that we're going to learn in physics and frequency and vibration, all that stuff is going to be so crazy. And I really think we're going to see some of that in our lifetime, which is really cool. It's not just a material world anymore. There's more to this world than what we can see and what we can touch. Quantum physics is an insane thing. And I was really philosophical today. They have this electron slit experiment that they do in quantum physics, where if you're watching the electrons, they will perform in a certain way. But when you are not watching the electrons in the experiment, they would perform differently. And so I was listening to this tarot reading, and sometimes it's crazy because I'll listen to them and it's just like, yeah, no, this isn't anything, it doesn't resonate. But sometimes it's like, oh my God, this feels like it's for me. And I was telling a friend of mine, I wonder, it's like feels crazy to say this, but what if you listen to that and it's almost like this electron slit comes to me in a different way, it goes out to someone else, and she's like, oh my God, that's crazy. It's almost like this alternate universe kind of theory that things are playing out in different ways everywhere. But anyway, so what I realized in this control and this trust issue that I have with people, I don't trust them to do the right thing to protect me or to to cherish me or whatever it is. And so because I don't trust them, I am therefore trying to control the outcome of things and control almost like the narrative, control them in some way. And I never realized it, but some people would say, like, oh, you're being manipulative. And I was always like, I'm not being manipulative. I do not want to be manipulative. That's not who I am. I'm empathic. I want to help you, or I want to help us, or all these things. It's not like I'm trying to maliciously be manipulative, you know? So it's so crazy when I hear that. But then it took me this YouTube video to explain that because of the expectations that other people feel that you've put on them, it takes their power away and it manipulates them into behaving a certain way. And so if you can remove your expectation of how someone's going to respond to you or in a situation, then you are just giving them all their power and you're not trying to manipulate the situation into a favorable result for yourself. Boom. It was like when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, that's what this is. That's what's happening here. So it's like you're doing things and you want these things, but you need to just do things for yourself and not try to focus so much on, if I do this, they're going to do this. And this is how this is going to play out. Again, you're letting go of control of a situation. Just let it go and let the universe do whatever it is going to do. Let them do whatever they're going to do and just let it play out without feeling like you constantly have to have your hand in the pot of life, you know? Because when you try to do that, you're taking away their power. You're just demining their personality. You're not allowing them, this expectation of them is hard on them. They perceive that just like I perceive their energy, they're perceiving my expectations. So it's just, you have to move away from that trajectory because it's just full of disappointment in life. And then like letting go of this tension that I feel that makes me want to control other people's lives or decisions because I'm scared. Oh my God, if he doesn't get the medicine, he's going to get sicker and then be in a hospital and die. Or if I don't say be careful in the morning, he's going to get in a wreck. This crazy behavior of like, you're doing things because you're trying to manipulate the outcome of a situation, or at least that's what I'm doing. But like their mistakes, people's mistakes are just a part of their journey, their learning, and things sometimes have to work out a certain way to get the maximum amount of value in your life. And, you know, letting it go is a choice. It's a choice. It's not anything like, I don't think it's anything that you can work on, or, I mean, I do meditations on it, like some subliminal messaging or affirmations about letting it go. But honestly, it's just, you have to choose to just let it go. Every single time you feel yourself getting in that pot to control something, you have to just tell yourself, do I really need to control this, or can I just let it go? Do I need to have an expectation about this, or just let it go? And just whenever you're, you know, like I said, I defended my feelings today when I felt like someone was a little unjust to me. And I just came from vulnerability. This is what happened. This is how it made me feel. And I'm sure you didn't mean it like that, but whatever. And then just saying, putting that out there and saying, I have no expectation about how this is going to go. I'm not expecting them to say, I'm sorry. I'm not expecting them to blow up and get upset with me and then have to pick up the mess of that. I'm just putting it out there. I said it kindly and I'm releasing expectations of how it's going. And just trusting that I'll be safe no matter what happens, right? Whatever happens, whatever tension they felt about that, or however they like if they have an outburst about it or whatever, just knowing that I'm safe and just being true to me. Today I mentioned stuff with my mom and I kind of felt like she was trying to backlash at me. And after I had mentioned a boundary or whatever, it was like, you know, this happened and this upset me that you did. And so I, you know, in the past would have just absorbed that and felt like I didn't have anything to say about that. I would have just probably taken it and been like, I'm sorry you felt that way. But in this instance, I like realized the reason why that happened that you're upset about, which in this case was that she wasn't invited to my baby shower, was a direct result of something that she had done. It was the consequence of her action. And I had to just kindly remind her about how that played out and not just roll over and take it, because I didn't just not invite my mother to my baby shower because I'm mean or vindictive or whatever. I would have loved to have her there. However, she did things that resulted in that, in her not being invited. So that's just the way it went. Another thing that you have to be cognizant about that I really struggle with is not everything's your fault. I constantly think everything's my fault. Like, oh, this happened because I said this and I did that. And it's like as if like the world revolves around me. And I think I'm not making things happen. I know I'm powerful, but I'm not that powerful. But I really have to work on just not feeling like everything's my fault or not feeling like everything's my responsibility to fix. That's a big one. Right now, I'm just like, let me get my handyman tool belt out and go fix all of you guys' problems. Like, hello, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't get received well. And I don't know the answer because I'm not living their life to understand what will work for other people. All I can do is live my life and share my message and hope that maybe it resonates with someone that's like, oh, yeah, that does sound right. And not be like, oh, you need to do this. It's just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And look at these results I'm having. I'm so happy, and my kids are happier, and my husband's mostly happier, except for all the big, long, arduous conversations we're having lately about feelings, which I don't think is his favorite topic on earth to talk about. But here we are. But, we're all just getting better because of the self growth. And so that is exciting to me. And I will just show you guys and everyone in my life how great I'm doing and hope that some little parts like can rub off on certain areas of other people's lives that people that need to hear it will hear it, right? Like if you listen to this video today and it resonates with you, then you just heard exactly what's got me pumped up this week too. So I just am really working on trying not to take so much responsibility for the way things work out. My life has worked out so great to this point. I am blessed beyond belief. I have had amazing careers and success with everything I've done, and I put my mind to it and I accomplished everything I wanted to. And so I just have this feeling that I know things are going to work out for me, and I just strongly believe that because my life tells me that. And I know what amazing things I'm capable of. And I know that my words have the ability to heal other people and can heal our relationships and all these things. And I just strongly believe that. And so I'm just going to roll with it. But I don't have to take responsibility for every little thing in life. Because all that stuff has worked out and I realize how great everything is, I know that I'm taken care of, right? I know that the stuff I'm doing is working and I'm taking care of myself. And so I have that inner peace, the inner love, so that I don't need it so much from other people, right? Because I have it inside of myself. I know how great this is. I know how great I am. And so maybe it takes the expectations and the burdens a little off of other people to have more confidence in myself. So I've been, pulling my energy back. I do it very frequently. I get outside in the sun every chance I can. I'm probably going to get sunburned over time. Or maybe like this thing with the sun is like the more you get in the sun, the better it is for you. Sun's actually really good for us. And we've traded this lifestyle of being inside at our computers all day and on our blue screen phones and stuff that is making us sicker. We need to be outside in the sun. The sun is so powerful. Its energy is so great for us. And I'm just a strong component of being out there every chance I can get and just absorbing that beautiful energy. And when I'm absorbing the sun's energy, I'm also thinking of absorbing universal loving energy, positive energy, absorbing my energy back to me, and then grounding and stuff, feeling the earth, feeling a connection with the earth, feeling like the earth's got my back, feeling like those big trees out back there, they're just like watching over me and protecting me and keeping me safe, and just feeling at one with nature and the magic of it all, and letting that support me, letting that nurture me, and showing that love to myself through this felt caring that I have. Like, I'll take care of you in my backyard and you take care of me. I just get so much love and appreciation from being outside. And then lastly, what I'm really working on is some inner child work, because I can see the control issues, the trust issues, the abandonment issues, all of that stuff is like a direct result of my childhood and things that I perceived in a certain way. And so it's like, I learned from the guy, all right, these are the things you're doing, right? And the solution is inner child work. But then it's like, okay, well, what about inner child work? Exactly how does that work? And so I've been listening to some meditations online. You can look in YouTube, find inner child meditation, do some work. But basically the gist of it is that you're going to a place where you're remembering an event from childhood, right? Like an event that it hurt you, your parents hurt your feelings, you cried, a teacher hurt your feelings, your friends hurt your feelings, or something that felt uneasy or unsettled, or for some reason it sticks in your mind as like this odd feeling or something, and going back to that place. So today I went back and I'm trying to visualize in this meditation a time in my childhood that I need to go back to. And I just had this memory of being in school, for school picture day, and I just got a perm. I don't know why I got a perm, like, oh, chemical exposure, yikes. But anyway, I was kind of feeling self-conscious. I had this cute outfit that I picked out by myself. I was really feeling stylish in my element. But I think when I got there, I kind of felt like, oh, I took this too far, and unsure of myself, right? And I felt like, oh, maybe this wasn't the best choice, maybe this isn't the best look. And then, so I had that kind of self doubt feeling during that day. And then I remember at lunch, I had all these cute little rings that my parents had got me. And I washed my hands, and my hands were all wet. So I took my rings off and put them in a paper napkin and folded it up to like take with me. But of course, a kid, like, I threw it away. And I just remembered feeling really sad and disappointed in myself because, it was gone, and I wanted those rings. I loved them, and this disappointment in that situation. And so I remembered that today, and I went back in that moment. I went back in that cafeteria, and I envisioned myself exactly how I remember it. And I have a school picture, so it's easy to remember. I remembered my hair and the outfit. And I just brought that little girl to me, and I mothered her. I went in that moment, visualized it, and I brought her, my inner child Heather, on my lap, and I mothered her exactly like I would for my girls. And I was like, I'm so sorry that happened. It's okay. Things like this happen. Just all the things you would tell your kid to make them feel better in that situation. It's okay. If you're uncomfortable, your hair will grow out. It's not the end of the world. Your outfit's cute. I love you. Like all the sweet stuff you would tell your kid. And I just told that little girl all those nice things. And I was like, listen, life can be hard sometimes, but you're okay, and you're going to be okay because you are okay. And I'm you, and I know you're okay, and you are going to do such great things in life. So this is just a moment in time, and let it pass, and just go be your fun, spunky self. And I just looked in her eyes, and I just nuzzled her face with my nose, and I kissed her on the cheek, and I was like, I love you so much. And I just visualized that feeling of her. And I let her go, and I was like, all right, go ahead, girl. You do you, and you be yourself because you are awesome. And I let her go. And after that, I could just feel this wave of emotion. I like almost want to cry. I just felt this like profound emotion running through myself of like calming, beautiful energy. And it was really profound. So I just encourage you guys to maybe think about doing one of those inner child work meditations on YouTube, finding someone that you like, someone's voice that you like, a female, male, whoever. Aaron Doty has some that he can send if you join his newsletter or whatever, and it's not interrupted by YouTube ads. Or you can just do it on your own if you feel comfortable with that, just exactly how I described it, just going back to a memory and visualizing every detail you can of that memory. I mean, except unless it's like a really traumatic memory, okay? Don't do it if it's something really traumatic. Don't try to remember every memory. If you're processing something super traumatic, then I mean, I'm not a medical professional or anything like that, but if I was doing that, you have to kind of like carefully work through that. In fact, like maybe, I would do some more research if you're going to do something really traumatic. I wouldn't probably go into the details of things like that. So I really can't speak to this. This is kind of like minor little traumas. I've lost my rings, but I don't want to try and lecture someone if they've had really profound bad traumas and how to work through this. I think it'd be best to do some more research on that. But I know that there are resources out there for that. And so you can probably just Google that, like inner child work for deeply traumatic events, and find some better resources than what I'm talking about. But yes, it was very profound for me. I felt this burst of energy, this lovingness towards myself. And I'm really looking forward to doing some meditations where I go back to memories that just come to me, and in parenting myself in this loving, vulnerable way, and giving myself some love that I didn't feel at that moment. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been working with this week. Very in my feelings, very spicy. I've been feeling my throat chakra very open and willing to tell people how I feel about things, and also be very vulnerable with people. And that vulnerability has really paid off for me. So I really, really, really encourage everyone to go be vulnerable, to look inside your triggers and find out why you're being triggered by something, to stand up for yourself, and establish healthy boundaries in a loving way with people in your life. Establishing healthy boundaries with people that are close to you in your life that impact you, and then working towards your inner child and nurturing yourself for those things, because everybody has stuff that happened in their childhood that wasn't right and that didn't feel good and that shaped our perception of reality now, that we can so easily just go back in our memories and go and nurture that person, nurture your past self that was going through it, and give yourself confidence and courage, and give yourself that love that you needed to be shown in that moment, the love that you wish you were shown by someone else. All right, guys, I really hope that this resonated with you and that you feel encouraged to start a journey on working on your inner self and working on some childhood healing and feeling great love for yourself, because you are loved, and the love that you show yourself will be mirrored in your relationships with other people. And so I am always here to talk to anybody that needs anything. I love everyone and am so happy if we've had an encounter in life. Really enjoy everyone, and I wish everyone the best in health and happiness. So, bye, guys. See you next week.